Boelter Jones, Pro Football Hall of Famer, top 100.
Tyler Lockett from the Seattle Seahawks.
DK Metcalf.
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you for another roundtable, NorbCam Roundtable discussion with my panel of NFL and Seahawk experts. Excited to be joining them to talk about this Seattle offense, the Seahawks offense, and how they will look in 2020. This has been probably one of the most debated topics from year to year. When you've got the number 2 player in the NFL on your team at the quarterback position, do we let Russ cook and finally let the reins off and let him take the game over and run the offense through him? So we're going to talk about that in just a second, amongst other things, including another NorbCam trivia. So before we do that, I just want to first make sure to remind everybody to please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and that notification bell, and that way you will be notified every time a new video comes out. So without further ado, I want to bring on my panel right here. Here they are. It's a little smaller panel today, as we've got just 2 of the roundtable. Seahawks Martin not here today, but I'm happy to have our usual weekly experts on here. At the top, we've got Calvin Domingo, a Stevie A. Smith. How's it going, Calvin?
I'm doing well. Locked in Arizona. How's everyone feeling?
All right. And I'm getting a lot of hiss from a microphone. I'm not sure if it's Calvin's or if it's Noah. Calvin, you mind muting for a second? Let's just test that out. No, it's actually coming from Noah's side. Sounds like. Let's see. So, Calvin, go ahead and bring your mic back up. Yeah, is that you, Noah? That's yours. Apparently, it's a little bit noisy on your side of things for some reason. But that's okay. We'll keep pushing through because, live TV, this is how it goes. So, Noah's got some technical things to work out. Oh,
I forgot to turn the fan off.
Oh, he's got the fan on. No wonder we're hearing noise in there. Hey, this is live TV, baby. I love it. While we're waiting for Noah to get that fan turned off, I want a quick shout out to in the super chat. Anthony D, what's up? He says, hey, bud, I want to let you know if I go to Bellevue, Washington for my birthday on September 12th, you're invited, buddy. Send an email to you about it. Go Hawks. I did just read that earlier. Anthony D coming over from Yakima, possibly for a little Bellevue-style lunch buffet. I don't know if they're doing buffets right now is the only thing, because, they have a lot of strict rules about groups and sharing food and all that stuff. But if you come over, man, we'd love to work out seeing you over there. So let's make it happen. So we got, as I said, Calvin Domingo up there. He's actually in Arizona right now. Hey, Calvin, put your mic back on there. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing. And show me that tank top, that jersey that you're wearing right now. Yeah, old school Sonics, baby. 90s Sonic jersey. Gary Payton, sporting the Gary Payton jersey. What you doing down there in Arizona, man?
Really just trying to have a good time. I thought I needed a little break from out of the state. And so my roommate just brought up the idea of heading over to Phoenix. I know some people over here. He knows some people. They know some people. And he has a few business partners over here that he wanted me to meet as well. So hopefully we could get a little deeper into that in the next couple of days. But here to really just have fun, enjoy the weather, and have a good time.
All right, so it's only like 125,000 degrees down there, right? But I hope you're staying safe down there, because I know there's a lot of COVID's raging down there, but I'm sure you'll be staying safe and while you're out having a good time down there. So that's cool. I'm glad you made time to do our weekly show, so it's great to have you on here, man. So let's go to Noah. Speaking of different locations, everybody's in different locations except for me. Noah, in his brand new digs over at Wazoo, man. Talk about what you're doing over there. How's it going with being all set up in your new situation over there in Wazoo?
I'm pretty tired for the past couple of days. It's just been all moving all day. So, I'm excited to get back into some content, doing what I love, talking sports with you guys. So, I'm ready to get into it.
All right, I'm ready to get into it too. So,
how's the background noise, by the way?
Oh, it's perfect.
Is it better
it's
now?
Great. Yeah. Totally got rid of it. The old fan, the deadly fan trick. Anyway, so let's get into. Actually, before we get into it, a little breaking news. This is not like huge news, but I did finally get the word from the Seahawks ticketing department, because I've been hearing about the first game that they already had said there would be no fans allowed, but nobody notified us directly. Well, I just got the official notification. The first 3 games of the season already have been determined no fans at CenturyLink Field. So the first 3 home games officially no fans, and that's not to say we're going to have any more in the 4th game. It's just definitely the first 3 no fans. Could be more. I think this is just the start of things to get shut down as far as us fans are concerned. So I don't know where I'm going to watch it. I guess we can watch the games right from here with the rest of you guys, because I can't even do my viewing parties at Emerald Downs. So I got no place to watch my games. It's so depressing, but it doesn't matter. We're still going to talk about this team and hope they can get things set up for a potential Super Bowl season. So for that to happen, we got to talk about, we've been talking so much about the defense. We've been talking about Clowney till the cows come home. We've been talking about Jamal Adams, and he's been no disappointment whatsoever so far in training camp. But we need to talk about the offense. I just want to start it here that I said in the beginning. Russell Wilson made the NFL Top 100 as the number 2 player in the entire league as voted by his peers. Keep that in mind as we discuss this conversation and what needs to happen. So we are going to do a little bit of a breakdown of the different areas of the Seahawks offense and then see how they compare to the other division rivals in the NFC West. So let's first start. I'm going to get Calvin's take on just philosophically and with the weapons we have. What's your overall take on what the Seahawks offense is going to look like in 2020 this year, Calvin?
I think we're going to be a very explosive offense. We're going to be a high-flying offense. I think that after what we showed last season, I know there were there's a lot of criticism towards the play calling and whatnot, but despite that, we still finished as a top 10 offense in football. I think that Noah brought up a good point earlier on a few months ago when he talked about Pete Carroll potentially being on the hot seat. And I think that Pete Carroll and the rest of the coaching staff, even if they aren't hearing it very clear, it should definitely be a thought in their heads that, they could potentially be on the hot seat just because for the last couple of years, there's been a whole lot of criticism towards both of our play call on the offense and defense. It's been very vanilla, very simple. And I think that this season, they're going to start to feel the pressure a little bit. And that's the reason why I have Pete Carroll and the rest of the coaching staff ramping it up on offense, letting Russell Wilson take the reins a little earlier in games rather than in the 4th quarter. And I think that we have all the pieces on offense to explode this year. We have DK Metcalf. He's the next Megatron, we've all raved about. Tyler Lockett had his first 1,000-yard season last season. Russell Wilson just finished as the number 2 player in the NFL. He was in the MVP voting for most of the year up until we lost to the Ravens week 7. Our running backs, we have a great stable of running backs. Chris Carson, still a top 10 running back in football. We had a great insurance in Carlos Hyde, who had his first 1,000-yard rushing season last year. So I think that we have the pieces to definitely be one of the best offenses in football. What it really comes down to is a coach staff going to, abide, and is the coach staff going to make adjustments. So I think that if those two things can come together, then I think we would potentially be a top 5, top 3, maybe even the best offense in football.
Let me just run a few numbers by you as I want to thank in the chat. Tay Francis reminded me here that the 49ers just signed Jerron Brown, former Seahawk wide receiver Jerron Brown, is now a 49er. So now he was never a huge contributor, but he is one of those depth guys, and he's maybe more importantly brings to some intel behind the lines to the 49ers a little bit about having a receiver who was working closely with Russell Wilson in that offense. But let me just throw a few numbers at you guys just to kind of get some perspective on how the Seattle offense did last year, because sometimes I think we're often too critical because we just feel like it should be better. But let's look at these numbers here. Total for the Seahawks offense, the way they ranked last year, total yards. In terms of yardage, they were 8th overall, 5,991 yards, 374.4 yards per game. Rushing, we were great, of course, because that's the primary focus. 2,200 yards total, 137.5 yards a game, good for 4th place. And in passing yards, of course, a little bit of a drop off there. 14th place, total of 37.91 for the season, 236.9 yards per game. And in terms of points, 9th place overall, 405 total points, 25.3 points per game. That's kind of where Seattle ranks right now in terms of the rest of the league as it was in 2019. So Noah, given those numbers, what's your take on what you see moving forward with Seattle in 2020?
Well, with the conditions as it is with COVID and coronavirus and the season kind of at stake, Norb, you brought up the fact that there aren't going to be fans at least for the first 3 games of the season. For Seattle, there have already been teams that have said they're not going to have fans this year. And so we have to look at the NBA because they are the ones that are really laying down the blueprint as to how to deal with the coronavirus situation. While, yes, they were already the majority of the way through their season, they've had to adapt to it first, and they've done a phenomenal job. Well, one thing we've noticed as we've watched the playoffs here early on, both of the 1 seeds on either conference, the Western and the Eastern Conference, have been upset in the first game of the playoffs. What does that tell you? It tells you that the teams that have been, kind of lackadaisical with their approach, we didn't have to worry about going hard early on during the bubble. They're the ones that are struggling because they're going up against teams that have had to scratch and claw and have gotten momentum on their side early on during the bubble, and it's carried them into the playoffs. Well, now to the NFL, Seattle is known for our home court or our home field advantage. While yes, last year we had a much better record on the road than at home, which I do think will benefit us. What I think it means for Seattle's offense specifically, it's kind of what I've been calling for with Pete Carroll for quite a while, and it's for it to be much more explosive, as Calvin said. Russell Wilson before the offseason, before the Pro Bowl, was talking about how he wanted a superstar alongside him in Seattle, especially on the defensive side, so that he could focus on the offense and the defense wouldn't give up so many points late in ball games. Well, Seattle added Jamal Adams. Well, now Russell Wilson just came out and said, there's a ridiculous statistic in the Russell Wilson era how Seattle, every time they're up by 10 points at halftime, they're pretty much undefeated going into the second half there. Well, Russell Wilson's saying he wants the offense to come out more explosive and to not be afraid to score a whole bunch of points. Well, without fans, the offense has to be more explosive. I'm the one that said Pete Carroll's been on the hot seat if he's unable to adapt to the new NFL, adapt to the passing game, adapt to the talent that we have on this roster with DK Metcalf, having him fall to practically being a third-round pick, the last pick of the second round when we were able to find him. He's developed his game with Russell Wilson. I think this is the offseason, especially with Chris Carson's contract coming up, where we wean away from Chris Carson. We wean away from the establishing the runs as we have so much in the past. And yes, I understand that is our mantra. Yes, I understand that is our formula. Formulas need to change. Change is a beautiful thing. Change is a part of life. We need to adapt our offense, and I believe that we do so this year because Russell Wilson, the guy that's getting paid the most on the roster, just called for it.
He's making a pretty clear statement of what he feels needs to happen. And for the guy ranked number 2 in the NFL of all the players, I think you got to listen to what he has to say about that. So now I've been a strong advocate about we've got to start faster. We've got to score points early because of that exact point. If we're up by more than 10 or more points at the half, we're practically undefeated over how many seasons, and yet we find ourselves 1-point games, down by 7, down by 3, always having to come back in the end. And if you apply that theory that if we could just get a 10-point or more lead and practically be undefeated, well, then it goes to the logic suggests we should try to score more points in the first and second quarter, which is counter to Pete Carroll's philosophy of do we win the game in the first quarter? No. Do we win the game in the second quarter? And all that. If you actually change that thing, we could actually win some games in the first and second quarter based on that statistic. So how do we do that? What is the formula for doing that? I've always felt that I would like to see Seattle come out with a little bit of mixing up some of that no huddle early on and not wait till the last 30 seconds, 2 minutes of the first half and the end of the game. Why not work a little no huddle early on when the defense, keep them on their heels, get them tired early, let Russell work his magic. That's something I'd like to see. But I'd like to see what you guys think. What does that mean, again, for a team that was 14th in terms of passing yards per game and 9th in terms of points per game? What does Seattle have to do to get over that bubble, to get over that 236 points 236 yards passing per game, 25 points a game. What do we need to be at in order to be that team that could potentially be Super Bowl caliber champions? Start with you, Calvin.
Well, I think the fact that we're 14th in passing yards, despite being a run-heavy team, I think that speaks volumes to how good Russell Wilson is. There's no way he should be finishing in the top half of the league in passing yards per game, knowing that we're as run-heavy as we are, and knowing the philosophy that that the team has behind Pete Carroll. So I think that in and of itself is an achievement. But to your point, Norb, I think for us to elevate as an offense, I think it's simple. It's kind of going off of what you said. I think we should run more no huddle. I love it when we run up tempo, because at times it's like we're almost unstoppable. You give Russ an advantage over the defense by not giving them time to set up, not giving them time to set up a play that would that they could counter with. I think that Russ is almost unstoppable. He's too explosive in those situations, in those scenarios, and he just knows exactly what he's doing. I think the fact that what he offers as a dual threat player, both as a passer and as a runner, I think that adds to his abilities in those situations. And I think that's really the only thing we need to do to open up the rest of our offense, just because I think that's really the missing piece, just letting Russ cook based off your title, let Russ cook. I think that's really what it comes down to. As soon as we allow him to take full control of the offense, as soon as we allow him to start cooking early on, I think that we become a better offense just by doing that.
Quick shout out to Devin Peterson in the Super Chat. Thank you for your support. There was some question. What does that mean to let Russ cook? That's kind of been the catchphrase in recent days. And to me, what that means is you let Russ cook. He becomes the chef of the offense. He decides how much of this ingredient goes into the soup here. Instead of him just sort of being given, okay, here's what you're going to work with. You go, no, I'm going to pick the ingredients. I'm going to decide where the ball goes. And to me, that means I don't think that means an extreme contrast of, well, let's just throw the ball 40 times a game now. To me, it means give him the option, run more read pass options where Russell's got the ability to either throw the ball or hand the ball off. Got a little more read option in there. Let him run the ball more often if the situation is right. But let Russell make the decision. He can throw it, he can run it, he can hand it off. But to me, more plays that are less predictable and puts more of the decision making in Russ's hands is going to be the key. And of course, the 2-minute offense is all about that. But even on regular not the no huddle, just having more of those read pass options just gives him more control so that anything is possible, and that keeps the defense guessing. Noah, do you agree or disagree?
There's a lot of things that go into letting Russ cook. I want to start with the number side of things, the analytics, because that's where sports is really trending towards. In all sports, really. You look at NBA, and I liken a lot of the NFL to the NBA in this aspect. And what it is you're not supposed to foul a three-point shooter, especially a good one, behind the three-point line. Why? Because it goes from a 30% chance of him getting 3 points to 80 to 90% chance for the best free throw shooters. And so it's much more likely for them to get those points. Well, with Seattle, we just talked about how the numbers are telling us, trust the numbers and follow the analytics. The numbers are telling us that we're pretty much undefeated when we're ahead. So it is vital for Seattle, especially with no fans, to get that momentum, like you're saying, Norb, and let Russ cook. Well, what does it mean to let Russ cook, like you were saying? Well, as you acknowledged earlier in the show, I just finally got to my apartment at Wazoo, and my whole life I've stayed at home. My mom has cooked food for me. My dad has cooked food for me. They've taught me some great recipes, but finally, I'm the one that gets to go in the kitchen, take what they taught me, and combine it with my own greatness. So I'm about to go make some very good tacos tonight, and I'm going to take what my mom taught me, I'm going to take what my dad taught me, and I'm going to apply my own spices, my own taste buds. I'm going to get what's personalized and what's best for me. That's what NFL coaches are supposed to do, is create an offense that suits their quarterback the best. How do you do that? By allowing him to make decisions. Our quarterback is one of the best in the NFL, and I said he has the edge over Patrick Mahomes because of his ability to read defenses at the line of scrimmage, to make audibles, to change the play, to adjust. That's what we have to let him do. So by running no huddle, defenses are going to be confused. Russ is going to know what they're doing. However, he's able to read them on the fly. We run scissor routes, the post in a corner. We run all sorts of different schemes and shot plays. Allow Russell Wilson to adjust at the line of scrimmage. Use him to his best ability. Allow him to create the offense. Figure out what spices he wants to use on the chicken. That's the way that we're going to have the best meal for our offense this season by allowing Russell Wilson at the line of scrimmage to make adjustments, run that no huddle, but give him the controls, let him put in the chicken what he wants to do. Mom and dad can only cook for you so long. At some point, you're going to have to cook it for yourself. It's time to let Russ cook.
I totally agree. Now, I'd be a little nervous if Russell Wilson was on his first year and just like as a first time cooking on your own, I'd be a little nervous because I'd be probably afraid that you might burn the kitchen down. You might put a little bit too much salty spices in there, and who knows what you might come up with. But Russell Wilson, he's been cooking. He's been in the kitchen for like 8 seasons now. He's an 8-year veteran. He's got a whole chef hat on. Chef Boyardee's got nothing on Russell Wilson, man. So he's been ready. He's been there in the kitchen, and now it's just time to turn over the entire chef's hat, the apron, everything. He's not the prep cook anymore. He's the guy who can make all the choices and make all the plays. So I'm with you. I think we all want to see that version. I would rather live and die by Russell Wilson and be complaining if it doesn't work out that, Russell Wilson, the game's when you're in your hands and you didn't make that throw, but at least it's in his hands. I would rather put the game in his hands and have Russell be the one to potentially win or fail at the games as opposed to feeling like we just never gave him the chance. So I'm with you. I think that's the key. Now, I want to switch to it's easy to talk about Russell Wilson. It's easy to talk about DK Metcalf. We know they're going to be stars. We know they're going to excel. Tyler Lockett falls into that bunch. But what I want to talk about is who's the surprise guy who's going to stand up and be something unexpected in 2020? Is it going to be somebody who's already been on the roster that just hasn't had that year yet? Or is it going to be somebody who you just brought in as either a rookie or a free agent from another team? So, Calvin, I want to see what's your take. Is there a surprise guy who's going to be a huge contributor on the Seahawks offense in 2020?
I like Philip Dorsett. Just because I like his tackle. He's another deep threat. And as we all know, Russell Wilson has the best deep ball in football. And being that he was a first-round pick back in 2015, he does have that first-round pedigree. He's played with the New England Patriots in the last couple of years. And we always talk about it with right guard Damian Lewis. He's another guy that wants to be in Seattle. He wants to play for Russell Wilson, play with Russell Wilson, play with the culture and the coaches that we have over there. And I think that to want to play in a certain destination and to finally get there after a couple of years, I think that that's a good thing, most definitely. And so I think that you combine that along with the fact that he fits with what we like to do on offense. He's a deep threat. I think that he could surprise a lot of people this season as a number 3 receiver. Even if we sign Josh Gordon or Antonio Brown, I still think that Philip Dorsett, with attention being taken away from him in terms of, because guys are going to cover DK, guys are going to cover Greg Olsen, guys are going to cover Tyler Lockett. I think that he's going to definitely take advantage of the holes that defenses are going to, I guess, let him or allow for him. And so I think that Philip Dorsett is definitely a guy that we should look to hopefully low-key making somewhat of an impact next season. But he's definitely a guy that I'm looking at as a surprise contributor for our offense.
All right, that would be a very pleasant surprise if Philip Dorsett comes in here and makes a lot of noise at the receiver position, considering that he's probably right now the number 3 guy in there behind Lockett and Metcalf. But maybe those 2 guys getting all the attention might open some things up. Speaking of other guys getting attention, I've been saying this entire offseason that to me, the tight ends are the place that I think is going to decide how this team does moving forward in 2020. And somebody in the chat asked, what do we think about Greg Olsen? And I think this tight end group is going to be key. I think it's going to be amazing. This could be the best tight end group that we've had in a long time. But Will Dissly, man, I've been a huge fan of his since his rookie year, and the one thing that has not allowed him to be what his potential is were injuries. But I do believe that this is going to be the year that he stays healthy, knock on wood, and I think that the duo between him and Greg Olsen, just those 2 alone, are going to be, I don't think Greg Olsen is going to be looked at as like this huge guy who's going to tear it up with huge numbers. But I think when you split the 2 together and you get 2 guys who are just both really efficient and one who's a great blocker and both of them who are great pass catchers, now you got to deal with 4 guys out there who are going to be problematic that we just haven't had that before. So I'm really excited about the combination Disley and Greg Olsen. And I know, Noah, I know you're high on the tight end side of things, so I'll turn to you and let you kind of back that up with whatever you want to add to it. But what's your thoughts, too, in terms of what is the key to the surprise group that might come out here and shock the world for the Seattle Seahawks offense?
Norb, you know me too well. I completely agree with pretty much everything you had to say, except for one thing. You said one thing that I thought was a little bit controversial, and I disagreed with it. And what you said was we have one that's really good at catching passes and one that's really good at blocking. And I think we have two that's really good at both. That's the thing with Greg Olsen and Will Disley. But my secret guy, and I have to give an honorable mention to Carlos Hyde, because I definitely think he's going to have a major impact this year, especially in those games against the 49ers, including Week 17, which should be flexed into primetime. But the guy that I think is going to pop onto the scene more than any other, and this is for fantasy, this is for just in real life on the screen, the guy that's going to really emerge this year is the guy that was on pace to, had he stayed healthy last year, led tight ends in the NFL in touchdown receptions with 11 had he stayed healthy. That is Will Disley. He came into the NFL as the best, and this hurts me to say as a Cougar, because he was the best blocking tight end in that draft, and it wasn't even close coming out of the University of Washington. Well, then Russell Wilson took that and ran with it, turned him into a great pass-catching tight end. But remember, he was a blocker first, and that's the big thing about him. That's why he fits so well with our offense, because you remember back in the day when we had Zach Miller and those boys. Zach Miller was a guy who was good at blocking, and that allowed him to uncover after plays where he was set to block. He would pop open late in plays, and that's when Russell Wilson creates his magic. That's what we've done with Will Disley. The combination of the two tight ends, I think it's going to be one-to-one play, one to the other, back and forth. We'll have drives where the only 3 people to touch, or 4 people to touch the ball, are going to be the center, who I think is going to be Ethan Posick, but it very well might be B.J. Finney, and then Russell Wilson, Greg Olsen, Will Disley, the only 4 people to touch the ball an entire drive, because they're going back and forth. I think we're going to have commentators pointing out the fact that our 2 tight ends are going to be tearing people up, and I feel like if Will Disley and Greg Olsen stay healthy for the entire year, our tight end group, controversially, the best tight end group in the NFL.
Woo, I like it. But I'm with you, man. I've been drinking the tight end Kool-Aid this whole offseason, like I've been talking about. And that's just the first 2. We still got a very deep tight end group, which I think is key, because, again, last year, the 2 position groups that got damaged and beat up the most was the running back group and then the tight end group. We were down to Jacob Hollister, and that was it. So going from the single, not to knock on Jacob Hollister, but I think, we lost the game that would have given us the NFC West crown if Hollister gets in there with 3 inches to spare. If we have Disley and Greg Olsen, it's a whole nother story. That play doesn't even have to happen. It's a whole different game, and we don't have to worry about that final few seconds of that game to win that champion, or that NFC West crown. So getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but I do want to talk about one of the, probably the most battered group that is always discussed and hated on, the Seattle offensive line. I think it's almost like a broken record when you hear fans talk about, Seattle's got to fix the offensive line. Offensive line is trash. Blah, 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 blah. Jamal Adams is going to help because we have that crappy offensive line. Well, how bad is our offensive line? Let's talk about who that is. You alluded to it a little bit here, but at this point, I think what we do know for sure is that our left tackle is going to be Dwayne Brown. The left guard is Mike Iupati. The center might be Finney. It might be Posick. Right now, I think it's Posick in there. Our draft guard, Damian Lewis, on the right side is pretty set, and Brandon Shell taking Ifedi's place on the right side. What do you guys think? Do you think this offensive line, this is a lot of, half the pieces are brand new, half of it we've seen before. Can we expect this line to be something totally different from what we've seen in the past, which is what everybody says is not a good line? Maybe good at running, but not so good at pass protection. No more Fetty and all his holding penalties. How much better is this offensive line with these names we just talked about? Calvin.
I think that with the guys that we brought in, it'll be hard for us to improve to being one of the best offensive lines in football, but I think what we can hope for is marginal improvement. And I think that with marginal improvement, that'll go a long way. Just because we're still a top 5, top 6, top 7 team in the NFL, despite the deficiencies on the offensive line. And I think that you look at the fact that we got rid of the worst right tackle in football, Jermaine Ifedi. Whoever comes in, it's bound to be an upgrade regardless of who it is. Just because he was that bad, no disrespect, but he was literally that bad. And I think that with Brandon Shutt coming over, we gave him 2 years, $10 million for a reason. He's not a superstar right tackle, but he's not as bad as Jermaine Ifedi is. So I think that that's an upgrade right there on the right tackle side of things. And I think that at center, I like B.J. Finney to start. I like what coaches brings to the table, but he hasn't started a game at center since he left college at LSU. So I think that with B.J. Finney, he has a little bit of experience playing center, guard. He's very versatile. He only allowed 1 sack last season in over 300 snaps. And I think that at this stage in Russell Wilson's career, we should go with the guy who has a little bit more experience playing center. So I think that to go from Joey Hunt to B.J. Finney, that's also an upgrade in and of itself. A lot of people are talking about how we got rid of Justin Brett. Yeah, but he hasn't played for us since week 7 of last year. And so we have to play a whole lot of football with Joey Hunt up front. And thankfully, he's not going to be playing any more center for us, at least starting. Although I'd love to bring him back as a depth addition. And I think that with Upati, he gets another year there at left guard. He's had his best years under Mike Solari, our offensive line coach. And I think that with him in his second year in the system, I think that that's bound to show improvement in and of itself. So I think that, like I've told people, like on Facebook and everywhere else, I think that we're going to have the best offensive line we've had in a few years. And a lot of people are looking at it as blasphemous, but I don't believe so. I mean, I'm very excited and very confident about the offensive line we have coming in next season. And once again, I'm not saying we're going to be at the top of the NFL or even the top half of the NFL in terms of offensive line play, but I think that if we can at least get down to the late teens, 19, 20, 18, 17 overall, I think that that'd be a good place for us.
And I think that what the thing we got to look at is, with this offensive line, the big question is how much better will they be at pass protection? We know that Jermaine Ifedi, I think we discussed this at length, that Ifedi would have been better if we could have put him inside. He just didn't have the feet to be a tackle. He got beat so many times on the outside, which is why he would hold so many times, because once that player got around him, he'd have to grab him to try to keep him from sacking our quarterback. But we won't know until they actually start playing the real games. I mean, that's the scary part. We don't have any preseason to get a feel for these things. These guys are going to be thrown right to the fire. Russell Wilson with a new center, 2 guys. Posick he's had some experience with, but not a whole lot, because Posick was injured for most of the year last year. Hardly took any snaps, if any, from Posick. So that center position is so huge because he makes all the calls on the line. So he's like the director of blocking schemes, and he's, how's that flow going to be? We got 2 guys brand new on the right side. So Seattle's going to go through their growing pains for sure. But, I think I like the foundation, and maybe the fact that there won't be audiences in the stands could benefit us from that communication standpoint, because if anything that's going to be new for the Seattle Seahawks is going to be that offensive line gelling and the communication. And maybe the fact that we won't have the noise, I assume, to contend with might help our newly revamped line. Noah, what's your feel? Are you optimistic about the way this line looks like at this point?
Norb, real quick, if you don't mind, you played football, right? What position was your main position?
I bounced between running back and receiver on offense, and then I was a cornerback on defense.
So you're a skill position guy. I had a feeling based on those calves. Calvin as well. He's a little DB. He's a little cornerback back in his prime. For those of you who don't know, I played center, and so Norb, what you were saying about offensive line absolutely rings true. It's all about continuity. It's all about not disrupting the flow. It's all about, as offensive lines age, they get better like fine wine. Unlike a lot of other positions in football, running backs get worse with age. Wide receivers get worse with age. Tom Brady's an anomaly. Quarterbacks can get worse with age, especially with the way that it's trending towards the rushing quarterback. Like Lamar is not going to play late into his 30s, the same style of football that he's playing now. Cam Newton, we're seeing the decline that is happening with him because he can't throw with his hips quite as much because of the physical style of football that he plays. Offensive lines get better with age, and it's not just because they're getting older and their bones are getting more fragile. It's because they're building that continuity together. It's because they have time to mesh together. They know what each other is thinking. They know what each other is seeing. They know what each other is planning on. And Norb, you mentioned it, on our whole right side of our offensive line is different this year. We have a new right tackle, a new right guard. Well, I look at Damian Lewis, and I think he could be an absolute stud. There's also a chance that he could completely flop. We got Jermaine Fetty in the first round, and now we're glad he's gone. We've had offensive linemen on the right side of our line and the left side of our line that we've taken, and we thought were going to be more influential than they ended up being, and they ended up being negative factors rather than positive factors. So what I think is really important with this offensive line, I want to treat it, and I understand this is going to be a bit of a superbole or hyperbole. Excuse me. Superbole. I'm thinking about the Super Bowl, but with our centers, and I would like to see Ethan Posick probably get the start this year. The reason being continuity. I want it to be the Alex Smith to BJ Finney's Patrick Mahomes. Even if Posick doesn't make it throughout the entire year, the longer that Finney has in our locker room, in our practices, to build that camaraderie with the rest of our offensive line, the better we are going to be down the stretch of the season. Even if Ethan Posick doesn't continue throughout the entire year, when the season starts, having a different center and a different right guard and a different right tackle, first of all, I'm terrified for any rollouts to the right. It's great that we're going to have our tight ends at least to start the season, hopefully, knock on wood if you're with me, because if we don't have them to chip that edge rusher off the right side, I'm concerned about Brandon Shell. We haven't seen Damian Lewis on this level, and he does have that LSU connection with Ethan Posick. So with those two guys learning some of the same styles from Ed Orgeron, with both of those guys being able to run block the way that they were coming out of college, I would like to see Ethan Posick get the start. I definitely think tight ends are going to be a major part of our blocking scheme this year. I think we're going to have to do some rollouts, and I'm concerned about communications going from the left side to the right side of the line with Yapati and Dwayne Brown having that camaraderie. I want to make sure that it does get past the center position. That's why I want to see Ethan Posick probably get the start, but competition is always a great thing, and I think BJ Finney will most likely end the season as he is our most reliable option down the stretch.
And that's why when Justin Britt went down, it was so tragic and sad when he did, because it was the timing of it, because it was, going into that final, I think we all saw that it was going to be probably his final season, but we didn't get a full season out of him because of the injury that he sustained. But if you remember Justin Britt, remember how he floated around? We didn't even know if he was going to be on the line. He on the Seahawks for much past his couple of years. He kind of bounced from, I think, guard, and he played tackle, finally landed at center, and then he just became one of the best centers we had after Unger. So and I loved him once he got settled in that center position, but it took 2-3 seasons before he finally landed in that position that he really belonged in. And it's just unfortunate that his season ended short with the injury. But he was great. I mean, I would have, if I could just pick a rabbit out of a hat and just say, hey, you're the guy. I would have loved to have had Justin Britt stay longer, because he was doing a great job at center. But we were having to rebuild that again, and like you said, build that communication and that chemistry that has to happen. Camaraderie, chemistry, all that stuff, communication. And like I said, it's more than half the line. It's the center is going to be relatively pretty much new. The right side guard is new. The right tackle is new. That's a whole half of your line, like you said. Luckily, it's his right side, so Russell Wilson should feel that pressure on the right, and he can roll out and get away from it. But nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to watch. But I feel like the building blocks are pretty solid from just reading up on what these guys can do. But it isn't until we actually see them in action before we can really get a sense as to how good they will be. All right, are you guys ready to kind of go head-to-head and see how we feel our offensive departments match up against our division rivals? You guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, let me bring up the screen right here. So I'm going to have to move things around because I'm blocking your face. Yep, there it is. Right on top of Noah's face. We'll move that thing over a little bit here. But all right, we'll put it right in between. So I'm going to have us go through each of these teams here and talk about which one has the better edge between the Seahawks and our NFC West opponent. So we're going to start one category at a time. We're on the topic of offensive line. Let's do it right now. So, Calvin, in a quick way, let's make this quick so we can bang through all these so we can get to the trivia, which is I know what everybody's waiting for. Let's go right into this here. Seahawks, Cardinals, offensive line, who's got the edge?
I gotta go Seattle. We both have bad offensive lines, but ours isn't as bad as theirs. We have, I think, more proven products on our offensive line. We have a Pro Bowler at least in Dwayne Brown. They don't have any. I gotta go Seattle.
All right, Calvin takes Seattle's offensive line. Noah.
Seattle's is bad. Arizona's is worse. I give it to Seattle in a close competition.
Okay, and I will take the glass half full, and I'm going to say as well that our offensive line is going to be slightly of an edge over Kyler Murray and company, so I'm going to give it to Seattle as well. Let's go to our tight ends. Seattle, Arizona, who's got the edge? Calvin.
Ooh, this one's Seattle by a milestone. I like what Noah said earlier. I think that we do have the potential to have one of the best tight end groups in football. Meanwhile, on Arizona's side of things, I don't think I can name a single tight end on the roster. Seattle in a heartbeat.
Noah.
Seattle.
And I'm with you. I love this tight end group. Like I said, could be one of the best. Got to go with the Seahawks here. Okay, receivers. This might be a little more interesting. Calvin.
This one's hard, but I gotta go with Arizona. They have a top 3 receiver in football in DeAndre Hopkins. They have one of the best to do it. They have one of the best of all time to do it in Larry Fitzgerald. Christian Kirk is a young prospect who has a lot of potential. I gotta go with Arizona here.
Okay, so takes the Cardinals on this first one. How about you, Noah?
The young and the old Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins. So I definitely say Arizona has the edge, at least for right now.
Okay. And for me, I'm going to take the opposite side because I'm the Seahawk Kool-Aid drinking guy. I'm going to say that Seattle, man, with that group energized with the potential could have been Rookie of the Year performance by DK Metcalf, and then now joined with this with the other group with Tyler Lockett doing what he does, and then as you said before, the impact guy that you thought might sneak up and surprise people, Philip Dorsett. I'm going to give the edge to the Seahawks here, baby. I just think they got a little something that people are underestimating. So let's go to the running back department. Calvin.
I'm gonna go Seattle. Chris Carson once again. I think he's a top 10 running back. Carlos Hyde had a 1,000-yard season. Rashad Penny was the first round pick a couple years ago. We have a lot more depth. We have the star power. Seattle.
Noah.
You know, I'm almost surprised, Calvin. You know, Kenyon Drake, your 8 overall fantasy player for this season. So, you showed some love to Arizona earlier, but I say Seattle in a landslide. 2 1,000-yard rushers. What else do you have to say?
All right, so another for the Seahawks here from Noah. And I'm going to go ahead and round it out myself because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm going to go with Chris Carson. I've been with this guy. I love the way this guy runs. He's not quite beast mode, but he's pretty darn close to it. He's going to be motivated by it being a contract year. The guy loves contact, which I love to watch guys who love contact. Carlos Hyde, is going to give us some depth. And then, when Rashad Penny, who apparently is looking slimmer in training camp right now, when he comes back, is going to make for a nice room, rounded out by our rookie DJ Dallas, who's apparently been pretty fun to watch in camp. I like our depth. But I like Chris Carson at the top of that. So I got to go with the running back. Finally, I think this is a no-brainer, but let's go to our quarterback room. Who's got the edge here? Do I even need to ask? Calvin.
And Russ we trust.
Noah.
How about the man who had more passing yards last year than Jameis Winston? I'm talking about the guy with 48 touchdowns and only 16 interceptions last year, over 5,500 yards, went to my current school. Anthony Gordon is the difference for me. I think he is the reason that Seattle has the edge over Arizona. I'll take him over Kyler Murray right now, but I do have to give the edge to Seattle.
Nice argument. Yeah, your third string quarterback's going to come over and save the day, get him over the top. But we do have a pretty solid
Second
quarterback
string
room.
by the end of the year.
Second string.
Second
All right.
string.
It'll be the most unused second string quarterback in the entire conference. Knock on wood. That's got to be tough, man. To be, if you're Anthony Gordon, you get drafted by the Seahawks, you're like, oh, man. I mean, it's great to be behind one of the greatest, but you also know it's a guy who never takes a playoff, and you're going to be stuck in that sideline for a long time. But hey, if you're on a winning team, what does it matter, right? All right. So I think clearly, with a landslide, Seattle over the Cardinals here in terms of offensive comparisons. So let's go to the LA Rams now. Let's pull up the LA Rams logo here, and let's start over with this comparison. And let's start from the top. Offensive line, Calvin, what you got? Uh-oh. Calvin is frozen. He's left the building. No, there he is. There he is.
Sorry. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, man. All right, we were talking offensive line, Seahawks versus the Rams.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, the Rams' offensive line is pretty bad. I mean, our offensive line is pretty bad, but the Rams is a lot worse. They have a 39, almost soon-to-be 40-year-old starting at left tackle, and they lost a whole bunch of guys on our offensive line. I got to go Seattle there.
Okay. Noah.
You know, I'm going to shock the world a little bit here. I really think this is a lot closer than we're giving credit for. I've said in the past, Seattle's offensive line is in shambles. And what I mean by that is that we have so many new faces and continuity is huge. We don't have a preseason. We don't have an opportunity for those guys to mesh. I think we're going to be a mess early. That's why for this, I think it's really close. But I lean towards the Rams as having the better offensive line than Seattle as of right now. The reason being, you look down the names that they got. Andrew Whitworth, Austin Corbett, Austin Blythe, David Edwards, Rob Havenstein. These are guys that have been there before. Because of that, I say continuity gives them the edge early. And for right now, I give it to the Rams.
All right. And I'm kind of with you. I hate to say it, but the Rams just we've had our fits with the Rams. And I'm afraid that, like you said, early on, especially now, that might change after Seattle gets their rhythm and their flow going with the offensive line. But I feel they're going to struggle early. At this point, I'm going to go with LA with the edge as well. All right, so let's move on to tight ends. Calvin, who's got the edge?
I like the Rams' tight end group, but I like ours just a little bit more. As we mentioned earlier, I think that we have one of the best tight end groups in football, so advantage to Seattle.
Okay, Cal takes the Seahawks in the tight end division and tight end group. What about you, Noah?
You know, I think the Rams have some really good tight ends, but I think Seattle's ceiling is much higher than the Rams because of that. And you got to think about it like this. Greg Olsen at times has been the best tight end in the NFL. Will Dissly could become the best tight end in the NFL, would have led the NFL last year. Had he stayed healthy, he was on pace to lead the NFL tight ends in touchdown receptions, more than doubling George Kittle. More than doubling George Kittle. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. So I give it to Seattle.
All right. And I'm going to go with you because, like I said, I'm all over the tight end department for the Seattle Seahawks. So let's go to the receiving core. Calvin.
Ooh, this one's neck and neck, but advantage has to go to Seattle. To Noah's point, I think that with our wide receivers, we also have a higher ceiling. They have a couple of studs in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, but I think that those guys have already had some of their best years. Maybe Cooper Kupp has better years ahead of him, but I think we've seen the best of Robert Woods. You look at our receivers, we haven't seen the best of any of our receivers yet. And so I think that, with that said, Seattle takes advantage of it.
Okay. Cal picks Seattle. What about you, Noah?
I kind of have a sore spot in my heart for the Rams wide receivers because I started them last year, both of them, Woods and Kupp over Julio, and it's the reason I got eliminated in my own fantasy league. So based solely upon that, well, not solely, also based on how good our Seahawks receiving core is going to be based on my predictions this year, I think Seattle takes this in darn near a landslide. Robert Woods is not nearly DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. Kupp is comparable, but I give the advantage to Seattle.
The Rams used to have the greatest show on turf for a long time in different variations, but it has definitely been depleted in recent years. And I think with the upswing of where Seattle is going, again, DK Metcalf is a superstar in the making. Tyler Lockett, solid. And with a couple other guys behind him, I think Seattle's going to excel in this department. So I'm with you there. Receivers, Seahawks got the advantage. Now, let's go to the running back department. Calvin.
This one's easy. Seattle all the way. The Rams are starting over at running back. They got Cam Akers in the second round. Darrell Henderson was a pretty disappointing draft pick last season, so I think that in Seattle we have star power once again, the depth. The advantage goes to Seattle.
Okay, Noah.
I think I saw Calvin on Hard Knocks the other guy getting a tryout for running back for the Rams. Their position group is really in shambles. Because of that, I say Seattle.
Okay, all right. So we got another one there for the Seahawks again, and I'm going to just make that a 3 of a kind right there. Running back, like I said, Chris Carson, I think he's going to be a man on fire this year. I think he stays healthy, gets into the playoffs, and keeps running, and we don't have to bring in Marshawn Lynch in an emergency situation. I really like our running back department this year, and I just think that injury bug that was so bizarrely devastating last year won't be biting as hard this year. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on a lot of wood this year. Let's go to the final position here. Of course, do we need to say it? Number 2 guy in the NFL, but quarterback. Let's go, Calvin.
Well, Russell Wilson's up here, and Jared Goff is all the way down here. So Seattle, by landslide.
Goes without saying. All right, Noah.
Jared Goff is right here.
You can bring your Anthony Gordon argument into this again?
Anthony Gordon's up here, Seattle.
You wazoo people. All right, so no question, Russell Wilson. You might as well check this one automatic for pretty much everywhere we go. Yes, Russell Wilson. So other than offensive line concerns there, pretty much a landslide in every other department. Yeah, we are biased Seahawks fans a little bit, but I think we're being somewhat realistic at the same time, too. So, all right, our final team, of course, our nemesis, the red and gold, the 49ers. Let's talk about those guys. Let's bring up their logo here in a second, clear the chart. So, let's start with offensive line on the San Francisco 49ers. Calvin, what say you?
I got to go San Fran here. They added one of the best left tackles in football, if not still the best left tackle in football, in Trent Williams. They have a stud in right tackle, Michael Glitchy. And you guys were talking about continuity earlier. Well, San Fran, they have it all. Star power, continuity, they're well coached. San Fran.
All right. Noah. San Fran. They have pretty much everything Calvin said. So San Fran.
Yeah, when it comes to the 49ers and the Seahawks, the 49ers definitely have benefited from all those bad seasons over the past few years, resulting in pretty good draft picks. They've built up that both sides of the lines really well. I do think that they've got the edge in terms of offensive line. So they have the edge on the defensive side of the ball. Same thing here on the offensive side. Okay, this one now. Tight end. This is a pretty close race here. Interesting to see where we measure this because obviously San Francisco got George Kittle, but we've got Will Dissly and Greg Olsen. But how do you weigh this thing, Calvin?
This one's super, super close, but I got to give the advantage to Seattle. I just think that you look at what everybody brings to the table: Greg Olsen, Dissly, Hollister, Luke Wilson, Kobe Parkinson. Behind George Kittle, recall any of the names of any of the 49ers tight ends.
Jordan Reed.
Oh, yeah, they signed Jordan Reed. He's very injury prone, so we don't know what he's going to bring to the table. But I just think that if I was a defensive coordinator game planning, I feel like I'd have more nightmares game planning against the potential of the tight ends that we have on the roster. And because of that, Seattle, but just by a hair.
Okay, Seattle's tight end group over the George Kittle group. Cal, you made some pretty convincing arguments about why we could have one of the best tight end groups in the entire NFL. Do you stand behind your claims in this head-to-head matchup?
I made some arguments about why Seattle could have the best tight end group in the NFL, and I'm dropping a video about it tomorrow with some more in-depth analysis comparing some of the better tight end groups, the Tampa Bays of the world, the Clevelands, the San Franciscos, and what makes Seattle's tight end group so much better than San Francisco. Well, for me, what it is, George Kittle, okay, I'll take him over any Seahawks tight end, clearly, but it's not that far if we have a healthy Disley between Disley and Kittle. Like I said, for the people in the back, one more time, Will Disley was on pace to more than double George Kittle's touchdown output from last year had Disley stayed healthy. Because of that, I say if Seahawks tight ends can stay healthy this year, and the same goes for San Fran. So if both sides stay healthy, completely healthy, which obviously it's unlikely, but one can only hope, and we can't project injuries, I give it to Seattle. Jordan Reed hasn't played since 2018. Last time we saw him, he only had 2 touchdowns on the year, about 500 yards. The next guy on their depth chart, Ross Dwelley, had less than 100 yards receiving last year, and I believe he played a full season, 16 games, less than 100 yards receiving, only 91 and 2 touchdowns. So you go down the depth chart. This is where it does get down to that 3rd and 4th tight end, the Jacob Hollisters of the world, the Steven Sullivans of the world, the Luke Wilsons of the world. I give the advantage to Seattle in the tight end group over San Francisco based on our maturity. We have one of the former best tight ends in the NFL in Greg Olsen. We have who could be one of the future best tight ends in the NFL in Will Disley. You combine those versus George Kittle and a guy who didn't play last year and a guy who had less than 100 receiving yards in 16 games last year, I give the advantage to Seattle.
You got a bunch of 49ers fans right now watching this just rolling their eyes, cringing, shaking their head. But I'm going to go with you guys on this one. Are you guys out of your minds? But I'm going to say that I'm going to go with Seattle here. And because if you were to take it as who's got the single best tight end, well, you'd have to go with George Kittle and the 49ers. But we're talking about an entire department. And we're talking about Seattle. I think they're going to utilize the double tight end set quite often, and that's a lot different when you got to have 2 of them out there. So pound for pound, yeah, one Kittle on one side weighs more than one on our side, but you put 2 together, I think that puts the weight on our side as the advantage. I'm going to give the Seahawks the advantage here at the tight end side as well. All right, let's go to the receivers now. San Francisco lost Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason. I think they got an injury too. Don't they have an injury to one of their receivers? I can't remember who's got injured on the San Francisco side. But
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about the receiving side of things. Again, very closely contested here. But Calvin, where do you see this? Who's got the edge?
This one isn't even close. Even if San Fran had Deebo Samuel, I think Seattle wins in a landslide. They have a whole bunch of unproven guys in the locker room after Deebo Samuel, and it's not even considering the fact that he has a broken foot and most likely won't be there week 1. That's why they have to bring in guys like Tavon Austin, J.J. Nelson, 2 veteran receivers. But I think the fact that those guys are on the roster speaks pretty bad about the state of their receiving core. So I think you look at our receiving core, we have superstars all over the place, DK, Tyler Lockett, and we have a sneaky third option in Philip Dorsett, Seattle Norb.
Okay, yeah, definitely 49ers took some hits there in the receiving core. Noah, you in the same line of thinking as Calvin is?
You know, to all my young men out there that are watching this show right now, because we know we have so many impressionable young men. My guy Seahawks Martin, shout out. My guy Lewis, the sports nerd, Jose Rivera, you know. So for all you guys, just know, never chase too hard for the girl because you can smell desperation. And that's exactly what I smell off the 49ers right now by bringing in a Tavon Austin, a J.J. Nelson, and a Jerron Brown within the last week or so. What are you guys doing? Clearly, you're scratching and clawing, trying to get any advantage you can in the wide receiver core. Half these guys probably aren't going to be on the roster by the end of the year. I understand your dancing as a group probably got a lot better by adding Jerron Brown, but outside of that, I don't know what these guys really provide for your offense. It's more of a punch in the face to the Los Angeles Rams to have Tavon Austin on your roster. I don't know how successful he's going to be. It's like when my parents were trying to overload me with a whole bunch of stuff for the fridge, and we already got a whole bunch of stuff for the new fridge now at our new apartment. I had to start telling my dad, no, Dad, it's okay. We don't need that. We don't need extra butter. We don't need a 12 stick of that, extra that. It didn't make the final roster. By the time we get to the season, these guys might not even make the final cut. This is extra fat. This is the cheese balls that stayed in the RV when my parents left. Because of that, I'm just disgusted with the wide receiver core. I say Seattle.
Wow, you had a lot of analogies and metaphors there, talking about food in the fridge and chasing after girls and all this kind of stuff. But hey, I'm with your logic, man. I see what you're saying because it does feel a little bit desperate right now. And they are kind of in a desperate situation. I mean, they lost guys. They've got injuries in that department. And Garoppolo's going, who am I going to throw the ball to other than George Kittle? So I have to say right now, given the fact that the way that Russell's gelling with his receiving core right now, and I can't say enough about DK Metcalf, how much he's just steadily improving on what was already a great performance last year. He's only going to keep getting better, bigger, stronger. He's already fast, and he's only going to improve what's up here and what he can do using his body against those guys. That big frame, long-armed, high-jumping target. It's going to be so fun to keep talking about DK this, DK that, DK all over the place, making points in fantasy. I love it. So got to go with the receiving core as well. Definitely. Running back. San Francisco was one of the best running teams last year. I believe had the advantage over most of the league in terms of running. If I'm not mistaken, maybe second in the NFL in terms of just total running yards. Things have changed, though. There have been some changes since then. Calvin, what do you think?
Well, everywhere Kyle Shanahan goes is usually, or more often than not, his running games are usually at the top of the league. But I think that you compare Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman to Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Travis Homer, DJ Dallas. I think that we have a slight advantage. I like what Mostert did in the playoffs last season and towards the end of the regular season. Tevin Coleman, we've seen what he's done in Atlanta and in San Fran. But I think that you combine all of our running backs versus theirs, we're just a little bit better. So, Seattle.
All right. Noah.
Well, Raheem Mostert and Shovel Coleman are not anything compared to Carlos Hyde and Chris Carson. We have two 1,000-yard rushers from last season. Yes, Raheem Mostert, as I like to call him, had a phenomenal run throughout the playoffs. He's not necessarily happy with that franchise right now. And he, very unfortunately in my eyes, had a 98 over card in Madden last year. That's disgusting to me. What they should have done is gave a 98 card to that entire offensive line for San Francisco because they were the ones really getting those cheese balls, that cheddar for Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert let it get to his head a little bit with those contract demands, but I think John Lynch really sat him in his chair, put him in his place right there because now he's kind of easing off of it a little bit, similar to the Dalvin Cook kind of role. So because of that, I say Seattle has the best offense, or the best running back group out of these two 1,000-yard rushers last year, two guys coming off career years, arguably, and because of that, I say Seattle in a little bit of a landslide.
Well, I have to disagree a little bit with you there, Noah. I don't believe that it's a landslide, mostly because we look at our comparison right here already, that we give a little bit of the nod to the offensive line to the 49ers. I mean, you when it comes to running backs, Obviously, run production isn't just about the running backs, but it's about what the offensive line can open for them. They don't just run by themselves. However, if we're looking at just toe-to-toe, one category, apples to apples, in terms of the running back department itself, I still believe that we have the edge with Chris Carson and our entire group, all four of them. And then some. We got all the way down to Travis Homer. I think we've got, from top to bottom, a really solid group that once we get our injured Rashad Penny back on the field 6 games into this season, we're going to have 4 guys who can really. We'll have too many good guys to work in there, but it's going to be, I think, gelling with our offensive line. So I say Seattle as well, with the running back department on the edge, over the San Francisco 49ers. And finally, it comes down to which quarterback is better looking, Russell Wilson or Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to have to go to the 49ers, the edge on that, except that's not what we're talking about here. Calvin, what do you got? Do I even need to ask?
Well, here, as we talked about, Russell Wilson's all the way up here. Jared Goff is over here. But I got to give Jimmy G just a little bit of credit. He's not that terrible of a quarterback, so he's going to go from right here to Jared Goff's right here, and then Russell Wilson's over here, so Russell Wilson.
Noah.
How about this guy who had 71.6 completion percentage last year? That's Hall of Fame level completion percentage, 8.1 yards per attempt. I'm talking about the guy who has Justin Herbert's hair, but brown. Anthony Gordon is really the difference for me here. Jimmy Garoppolo is here. Anthony Gordon in the same situation, barely gets the edge. I think the hair really does it for me in the attractive category as well. They both look really good in red. I give the edge to Gordon.
Okay, all right. So for reasons of different reasons, obviously, yes, quarterback, no question about that. I do have to say, if we had to have a rank of the top starting quarterbacks in the NFC West, what would be the order of best looking quarterback from top to bottom? What is the order of that group? Calvin, this is a stupid question.
I mean, Jimmy G got to be up there. He'll probably be number 1. I think, Russell Wilson got a little something to say about that, but he's coming in at number 2. Number 3, Kyler Murray. And then 4, Jared Goff.
Noah, how about you in this very scientific question? What's the ranking of 1 to 4 top best looking quarterback from in the NFC West? Go.
It's really all about type here, right? Because Jimmy G, yes, he's got the cheekbones. Porn star Jimmy, they call him. But the difference is Russell Wilson's got that stature, that body, that figure. So I say Russell Wilson, number 1, most attractive quarterback, especially if you don't take height into account here. Number 2, I put Jimmy G because, imagine it's like a Zoom call like this. We can't tell how tall they are. So I'll put Jimmy G number 2. Number 3, I go to Kyler Murray. Number 4, I go to the guy who looks like he cries on roller coasters at Disneyland until his mom gives him a big old lollipop. Jared Goff. He looks like an absolute kid. He looks like he can't do roller coasters. For the record, I can't do roller coasters either. I cry until I get a lollipop too. But Jared Goff looks like me, and I'm not playing football. So for that reason, I put Jared Goff number 4.
I have to say, so if I got to be completely neutral, like I'm not to have any biases, and I was just throwing 4 guys' pictures, and I would just say, rank these 4 guys, I'd have to probably, on just pure impact at first impression, it's hard to argue with Jimmy G. Jimmy G's the hottest quarterback in the world. What are you talking about? Jimmy G's pretty good looking, man. He's got that defined jaw. I mean, he's almost got like Christopher Reeve. If you guys know Christopher Reeve, we're talking old school Superman, right? He's got the Christopher Reeve-esque features. So I got to put him at number 1. Russell Wilson, he's not necessarily like the model face at the front of a GQ magazine, but when you put him next to Sierra and you go, wow, he got her. So he's obviously got something going on. He's got that swag factor. So I got to put him in at number 2. Like I said, if you disregard height, because if you're just going on photogenic quality, put Russell at number 2. Then it's Jared Goff, Kyler Murray. haven't really studied Kyler Murray that much. He's got kind of a little baby face. He looks like a little, kid. And Jared Goff, he does have kind of a dull expression to him. But I have to say that watching I didn't watch last night's episode, but watching the Hard Knocks episode where they've been covering the Chargers and the Rams, it's hard not to, but every time I watch these Hard Knocks episodes, it kind of humanizes these teams a little bit, and you start to kind of feel a little bit more of you start to appreciate the people who are behind the logos, right? And I kind of found myself liking Jared Goff a little bit more than I did before watching this show. And I'm not saying that makes him more good looking, but I kind of put him just one step slightly ahead of Kyler Murray. So I have to say Jimmy G, porn star Jimmy, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, and Kyler Murray. That would be my order of the best looking quarterbacks in the NFC West. But who cares? Because that doesn't really matter for anything. What does matter, though, is that I think clearly we've given Seattle, our offense, a much better rating of how we match up against our rivals in the division. And I think if we combine that with what we talked about earlier, if we can get that philosophy of letting Russ Cook put the ball in his hands and we let everything else play out, this offense should be something beautiful to behold. So we shall see if that's the case, but I like it. I like the way it's weighing out. So we got to get to some trivia. You guys ready to do this? Let's do it, man. This trivia contest. This contest is for what everybody's been waiting for in the chat. So let's do this thing right here. If you guys want to participate in the NorbCam Trivia, you got to get your Kahoot app or log on to Kahoot.com, and I'm going to give you the number in just a second. So get your Kahoots ready. We're going to do this. And again, if you guys, whoever wins, I was kind of surprised. The last two trivia contests, the winners never contacted me for getting on the show, which is why I don't have the guests on today. So it's on you guys to reach out to me at norb@norbcam.com and let me know who you are so I can set you up for hosting the show. But for those of you who are interested, let's play the game. Get your apps right now because we are going to do this. It's NorbCam Trivia coming at you right now. Now. Here we go. The number of the contest here coming up. Here's the pin number. The Kahoot pin number is 936967. 936967. Punch that number in and let's get 50 people up in this contest. Let's go. 936967. We got the sports nerd, of course, in the house. Nick LaBow, Chapman, Rain City, Trevor M, Japanese Beast, Nate S, Lamar Jackson, Go Hawk, Sky High Aviation, Japanese Beast, I already said that, Cameron Hughes, Michael Mullins, Remember the Time, Seahawks Chick, Dangerous, Andrew Andy, Schmilligard, Seahawks Fan 87, Ray Loves Mel, That Sauce THICCC, or that Sauce Thick, I'm not sure. Let Russ Cook, Area 51, Omitsoturk, I don't know, Diego, My Mom Rocks, Prez, Mateo Estrada. We have Prez. We got Jamal Adams in the house. Game Champion 1. 30 seconds to log in. 39 players in the house. Let's get to 50. Let's get this thing to 50. 10 more people to play. The Zekinator in there. DZ. Tank. Nutrice Norb. Okay, I know who that is. Nutrice Norb. That is definitely Rohan in disguise. 42 people in. The 12th man in the house. Ravens defense. Janosh, Callan the boy, 10 seconds left to log in. Again, the number is 936-967 to play the game, 936-967. Let's get 5 more in here, and we'll start this contest. Again, I want to appreciate and thank you for everybody who's watching today. Calvin, Domingo, Steezy A. Smith in the house, Noah Boelter, of course, with the weekly roundtable, being in here, sharing their insight. Appreciate you guys. Check out their channels in the description below. All right, let's go. Let's wrap this thing up. We got 43. That's close enough to 50. We're wrapping this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. All right, let's go. Let's get this contest going. Question number 1 starts right now. NorbCam Trivia, question number 1. All multiple choice. How many Seahawks head coaches have there been? 6, 8, 7, or 9? Seahawks coaches. How many? 6, 8, 7, or 9? We have, I believe, done this question before, so if you're paying attention, you might know this. 6, 8, 7, or 9? Time is up. Oh, not so obvious a question as I thought. 15 of you got this correct. The correct answer is 8. Let's go to the panel and see how we are doing here with this first question. Calvin, I know you've been exposed to this question before. Do you know it?
I got it right last time, so I tried to. I was trying to figure out what I said last time, so I came down to 7 and 8, and I said 7.
You said what?
I said 7.
Oh, okay. Calvin misses it by 1. Noah, what you got?
I also asked this on the Bolt in the past, and I remember I think Calvin guessed 7 at the time, and the answer was 8. So I did remember 8.
Okay, so Noah's on the board, 1-0 lead. Noah, let's go to the scoreboard. See how we start off out of the gates. We've got Muck in first place, the Zekinator in second, the KC Sports Nerd in third, Nick LaBow in fourth, and Callan the Boy in fifth place. Let's go to the next question. Here we go. Question number 2. Which former Seahawks coach just became a finalist for the Hall of Fame? Mike Holmgren, Mike McCormick, Tom Flores, or Chuck Knox? Which former Seahawks coach just became a finalist for the Hall of Fame? Mike Holmgren, Mike McCormick, Tom Flores, or Chuck Knox? Time is up. Oh, it's a little more even spread here. The correct answer was Tom Flores. 11 of you on YouTube got this correct. This news just coming out fairly recently. Let's go to the panel. Calvin.
I got it wrong. I guessed Mike McCormick. I was going to say Holmgren, but either way, I was wrong. So
Mike McCormick actually is already in the NFL Hall of Fame. But yes, Tom Flores just came out in the news recently. Noah, have you been following current events?
Absolutely not. I was thinking Mike Holmgren. I was thinking like you got to think about the times when they were tired and about how long it takes to get to the Hall of Fame potentially. And so I said Holmgren.
All right, Tom Flores was not a name I expected to see in the news. It kind of surprised me, which is why I had to put it in the trivia today. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard and see where things shake out. Big changes. Nick LaBeau shoots up to number 1. Game Champion 1 in second. Nate S. in third. Cameron Hughes in fourth place. And Ravens defense. All these guys moving into the top 5 with that question. Let's go to number 3. Here we go. How many times have the Seahawks won the AFC or NFC West? 11, 9, 12, or 10? How many times have the Seahawks won the AFC or NFC West? 11, 9, 12, or 10? How many times? 11, 9, 12, or 10? Oh. Look at that. YouTube. 11 of you guys got this one correct. Yes, it was 10 times. 10 times that the Seahawks have gotten that West crown. Calvin.
Believe it or not, I guess. No, I got it right. I said 10. I saw 9. I was looking at 9 for a little bit. I was going to say 9, but I was like, no, I got to give Seattle a little more credit, so let's go with 10.
A good guess. Noah, were you just as lucky on your guess here?
No, I was thinking less, but I said 11.
11. Okay, so that ties up the scoreboard. Calvin with 1 apiece with Noah. Let's go to the YouTube side. Lots of changes going on. Let's see what happens here. A few changes. Game Champion moves up to first. Nick LaBeau drops to second. Cameron Hughes moves up to third. Ravens defense moves up to fourth. And Nate S. gets onto the top 5 at 5th place. Up 21 places is Let Russ Cook, the highest climber. Let's go to the next question right now. Number 4. What year did the Seahawks win their first division title? 2004, 1983, 1999, or 1988? When did the Seahawks win their first division title? 2004, 1983, 1999, or 1988? First division title, AFC West. kind of gave you a little hint at the end, but it was too late. It was the first AFC West division title. That would be 1988. Not a year that we normally think of as a standout year for the Seahawks, but indeed they were AFC West champs in 1988. Calvin, did you know this?
Well, 2004 is definitely too late. I feel like we definitely won one before that. 1983, I feel like that was a little ahead of our time, so I scratched that one off. 1999, I don't really have any thoughts on 1999, but I just looked at 1988 and it just looked right. So I said 1988.
All right, so Calvin gets the 2 in a row here. Good for you, man. It takes the lead over Noah for the time being. Noah, how was your thought process on this one?
You know, I'm a little bit jealous. It sounds like Calvin's getting a little bit romantic with his answers, just making eye contact, just instantly knowing love at first sight. That's the answer. Me, I was looking at 99, and that's the year I was born. So I was like, you know, that's a sexy little year over there. You know, I gave it a little love real quick. But then I thought about it. I said, well, Norb did just say we won 10 championships. And going back to the year 2000, there's no way we won 10 championships. So that kind of pushed me towards 88. Zorn was still there back in 83. I don't think he was, or he wasn't in 88. And because of that, I said 88.
Wow, that's some good logic, but very sound breakdown. Let's see if how the YouTube scoreboard changes after that question, where most of them did not get that correct. Let's see what that effect had. Cameron Hughes moves up to first. Ravens defense, who's on fire with 4 straight answers, goes to second. Game champion drops to third. Nick LaBow to fourth. And Nutri's Norb gets onto the top 5. And I'm pretty dang sure that that's got to be Rohan. Only him would come up with a name, Nutri's Norb. Let's go to the next question right here. Question number 5. How many times have the Seahawks reached the divisional round of the playoffs? 13 times, 11 times, 12 times, or 14? How many times have we reached the divisional round of the playoffs? 13, 11, 12, or 14? Divisional round. 13, 11, 12, or 14. Time is up. Oh my goodness. Wow, YouTube. A little off today. The least number of correct answers for what is the correct answer, which is 13. Only 4 of you guys got that correct. We've been to division a lot. Almost too many times we've been to the divisional round and get stuck there too many times. 13, the unlucky number. But is it unlucky for Calvin?
I was dancing around a little bit. You know, I was down to 13 and 12. But what gave 12... what made 12 the deciding factor for me was, 12 was obviously the number of the 12th man, so I said, I'm going to go with 12.
So close, but 12, man, 12s didn't help you there. Noah, what helped you, or did you get help?
You know, when Sports Nerd came on the show, I was looking at his face, and that was the tell, right? Like, every time he smiled, it was wrong. Well, with you, Norb, I like to think I psychoanalyze this question a little bit. So we've had 2 questions where it was 4 numbers in a row. The first time, it was the third of the 4. I got that one right. The second time, it was the second of the 4. I got that one wrong. I was chasing it. I said last time it was C. I got it wrong. And that was the division championships. It was 10. I said 11. This time, I said, okay, I can't keep chasing. If I were to chase, it'd be the same answer as last time. So the second one. So I said I got to get ahead of this curve. Lucky number 13. Got it right.
So you played the good old Norb numbers placement game and won. You really had no clue, though. Did you have even an idea what the number might actually be? Or were you just totally going on just... I wouldn't have known either, to tell you the truth. But we've been there so many times. I mean, you can tell it's the fact that the low 11, high of 14, that's a lot of division championship, division playoff games to appear in. Unfortunately, we've been on the losing side quite a bit often. All right, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard here and find out what's shaking. Changes again. Nick LaBow shoots up to the top. Good job there, Nick. Cameron Hughes drops to second, and Ravens defense holding strong at third. Game champion at fourth, and Nutri's Norb, I think Rohan, hanging in there in fifth place, bringing up the rear, our 49er fan. Let's go to the next question right here. Question number 6. Which of these players is not in the Seahawks Ring of Honor? Matt Hasselbeck, Kurt Warner, Dave Brown, Jim Zorn. Which of these players is not in the Seahawks Ring of Honor? Matt Hasselbeck, Kurt Warner, Dave Brown, or Jim Zorn? Time is up. You know, this is YouTube. All right, you guys are on. You made up for that time. 15 of you got that correct. Matt Hasselbeck, yes, is not in the Ring of Honor. Arguably, maybe one day he will be, but he is not yet. Calvin.
Wow, I thought he was. I guess that changes things a little bit. I said Dave.
Okay, so Calvin stuck at 2. Noah with the 1-point lead with 3. Can he increase it and double Calvin's score with this question?
You know, he could have, but he said Kurt Warner. I was thinking like this. I was thinking, Seahawks, if anything, we'd be ignorant to do the guy that has the same name as the guy that played for our rival and not give him, because we've had a lot of good years with Hasselbeck. We made it to a Super Bowl, so I gave some love to Hasselbeck and I said Kurt Warner. I was wrong.
Oh, man, and this is not Kurt Warner of the Rams and Arizona Cardinals. We're talking Kurt Warner, the outstanding running back who helped Seattle get to the playoffs back-to-back in 1983. But yes, Matt Hasselbeck, not getting the love in the Ring of Honor yet. So you guys stay at 3 points for Noah and 2 for Calvin. Let's see how the YouTube scoreboard shakes out with this 15 people of you out in YouTube getting this one right. Here's the scoreboard. Small changes there. Cameron Hughes slides up to the first place. Nick LaBow drops to second. Ravens defense hanging in there in third place. Game champion 1 and 4th. T-Man jumps into the top 5 at 5th place, knocking down Nutri's Norb Rohan out of the top 5. And Trevor behind the scenes, Trevor M, up 27 places, climbing fast, trying to get in the top 5. Next question. Question number 7. Who was the first inductee into the Seahawks Ring of Honor? Jim Zorn, Dave Brown, Pete Gross, or Steve Largent? Who was the first inductee into the Seahawks Ring of Honor? Jim Zorn, Dave Brown, Pete Gross, or Steve Largent? First inductee, Zorn, Brown, Gross, or Largent? Time is up. All right, a little bit of a softball toss for you guys. Yes, it was the legendary Steve Largent, number 80. Let's go to our YouTube, or not YouTube, to our panel here. Calvin.
I went with Largent. He's the first Seahawk to do a lot of things. He's the first Seahawk to hold a lot of records. So I figured why not keep that going. And I said Steve Largent.
Solid answer there. Noah?
So between Zorn and Largent for me, and I have to be honest here, I was leaning Zorn till the last second. I was trying to remember in my head, I was like, who had the longer career? Because whoever had the shorter career probably got inducted first. But I think Zorn had the longer career, if I'm correct. I obviously wasn't around back then, so I don't know that for a fact. But I thought about it, and I remember asking Calvin about an opening question on the show one time about Largent, and actually read the fact that he was the first inducted. Last minute, I said Largent. Got it right.
Okay. All right. So that puts the 1 point apiece. That puts the score at Noah with 4, Calvin with 3. Let's go to the YouTube scoreboard, see how things shook out. Oh, changes at the bottom, but Cameron Hughes holds steady at number 1. Game champion 1 moves all the way up to 2nd. Nick LaBeau in 3rd. Chapman gets up to 4th. And Nutri's Norb back into the top 5 at 5th place, closing the gap. And Remember the Time is the highest climber behind the scenes, up 24 spots, trying to get onto that top 5. Here we go. Next question. Question number 8. What is the Seahawks' all-time playoffs win-loss record? 12 and 22, 19 and 15, 15 and 19, or 17 and 17? Seahawks all-time playoffs win-loss record. 12 and 22, 19 and 15, 15 and 19, or 17 and 17? Time is up. Ooh, look at that. 5 of you on YouTube got that one correct. Not an easy one. Pretty spread across. That was a tough one. I had to go through and look at every single season and tally up the entire win-loss record? Because I had no idea, to be honest with you myself. I was pretty surprised. But yes, we were an even 500 in the playoffs. Calvin, did you have any idea about this?
Not really, but I started breaking it down a little bit, and I got it right. I said 17-17. I looked at 12-22, and I was like, no way, that's way too low. 15-19, that's also way too low. I know we've been in the playoffs a whole lot of years, but we also had a whole lot of losses. So I was coming around at 19-15, but then I just remember that last couple of years we haven't had too much playoff success. And so I was like, okay, 17-17 seems about right. And so that's how I came down at 17-17.
All right, so Noah, you are the numbers king, always trying to psychoanalyze me and getting a jump on things. How did you approach this particular situation?
Talking to me. Calvin, I disagree with your premise that 15-19 was way too low. That's only 2 games off, man. That's 2 games. I said 15-19 because I was thinking about all those years before I was born when we were just losing in the playoffs. And I was like, Russell Wilson has done some great things, positive record. We haven't always been this good in the playoffs. I said 15-19.
Oh. Didn't give us the benefit of the doubt, but Calvin did, and it gave him an extra point to tie the score up at this point, 4-4. Another tight match. I love tight contests. Let's see what happens here in the YouTube scoreboard with that surprisingly uneven answer. Here we go. Well, Cameron Hughes. Cameron is just killing it right now. On the top with 4,583 points. Chapman moves up to second. Game Champion 1 in third place. Nick LaBow in fourth. And Nutrice Norb, a.k.a. Rohan, is in fifth. Boy, it's a tight race between about 7 different horses as they're coming around the corner here. Up 6 places, Omitsoturk. I don't know how to read that. Omitsoturk is the highest climber, moving up 6 places. Here we go. Coming down the stretch. Next question. Going number 9. Who is the Seahawk rookie who got cut for sneaking a woman into the team hotel? Kima Siverand, Seth Dawkins, DeBione, Renfro, or Gavin Heslop? Hard to pronounce names. Who was sneaking a woman into the hotel? Kima Siverand, Seth Dawkins, DeBione, Renfro, or Gavin Heslop? Time is up. Oh, everybody has been watching the news on this one. It's a big story. Sad, but true. Yes, Kim Siverand is the guy guilty of sneaking in a woman dressed up as a player, tried to sneak him as a player into the thing and got kicked off the team. Crazy. I have to get your guys' reaction on this. When you first read about this, guys, what did you think of this story? Were you shaking in your head just I think the rest of the world was?
Me personally, I was kind of shaking my head, but at the same time, I was just like, I totally understand, where he's coming from. And so, obviously it's not worth losing his job, but at the end of the day, I mean, you gotta realize where he's coming from. As a man, we all have those those sneaky little intentions at times, and so I totally understand where he's coming from. But I thought that maybe he didn't go about it in the right way. But it was really funny. Everybody was, talking about it. Everybody at ESPN, Stephen A. Smith and all, they was making fun of the whole situation. And so I thought it was real, real funny, but can't blame the guy.
Yeah, it's funny to everybody but him, because right now he's probably looking back like, oh, gosh, I could have been with the Super Bowl contending team, and choices. Noah, what was your thought when you first heard this story?
Man, honestly, there's a lot to break down with this. First of all, when I read this story, it absolutely reminded me of Calvin. I wasn't even Calvin. I wasn't even going to point it out, Calvin. But earlier on his vacation in Arizona, right? You're in vacation in Arizona right now. You had a girl sneak into your room and she ducked out of the camera, and she pulls a pillow off the scene without she disappeared off the camera behind the bed.
I missed
and
that.
Sneaks a pillow off the bed. It was the funniest thing I might have seen in my life. I started dying.
I didn't know.
I wasn't even gonna say nothing, but I peeped your game, Kyle. I peeped your game, and so like this totally reminded me of you. You call yourself Stephen A. Smith. It's the nickname that I first dubbed to you, and Stephen A. Smith's reaction to the situation was absolutely hilarious.
Funny.
He had the analogy, like, Adam was walking, this biblical reference now, in case those of you who missed it. Adam, way back in the day, Adam was hand in hand with God, doing everything God said. But the one thing that got him to break God's plan, Eve tempted him. Eve told him to taste that fruit. Eve, temptation is powerful. So now this young fella, KS, is in his spot doing his thing, and Eve got to him, fell for the temptation. Calvin fell for that temptation too, because of that. Of course I got this question right. I'm sure Calvin did as well, but Calvin, it just reminded me of you so much, bro.
I missed the whole thing with the girl sneaking into the room thing. I missed that. I don't think it was on the video. At least I wasn't looking at the time. But
no, it was. It was.
And I thought this was a guys. I thought this was just a guys trip. But yeah, okay, we know what time it is.
Before she even came in, so first she and we can run the film back, bro. For those of you who are watching right now, go back and look.
Oh, it's actually on the recording?
It was hella funny. First, she peeks in the window and she give you one of these. And then like 2 minutes later, she walks behind him, goes over there, looks for something, can't find it, looks at the camera, ducks underneath, down here, and all you see is a pillow off Calvin's bed.
That's so funny.
It was the funniest thing I've seen all day.
Funny, what I think cracks me up, because I watched this thing about bloopers during Zoom calls and stuff, and it's funny when someone appears in the background when they're not supposed to be there, and if they just kind of nonchalantly just walked in, grabbed something, we all go, oh, someone walked in the room. But it's when they act like they got to hide, and they be all sneaky, that actually makes them that 10 times more obvious and draws your eye to what they're doing than if they just walked in said, yeah, I'm just coming in here to get my pillow, I'm out. But that's hilarious. That's not the first time Calvin's had people sneaking into the video. You had your tutor on that one broadcast, a female again, I might add, who snuck into the room, and we tried to get her on camera. Remember, you're like, oh no, she's shy, she won't do it. But man, it's just a regular thing for you, man. Apparently. So all I have to say though, man. I'll have to say for KS, Kama Sivarandas, I hope she was worth it, man. I hope it was worth it, because you're gonna look back one day at this day and go, man. Maybe if you marry her and she's going to be your wife, you're like, well, honey, I had to make a choice. I chose you. But, man, if he's doesn't see this girl again in another week, he'd be like, man, I just threw away my chance with the Seattle Seahawks for you. Ugh. Anyway, we all got choices to make. All right, so I didn't get to even ask you. Did you say you guys both knew the answer to this? Yes?
Oh, what was the question again?
Who was the name of the guy? Yes? We both knew it was...
I got it right. I mean...
Okay.
You have to have been living under a rock. You didn't hear about this news. So. Okay,
so 1 point apiece for both you guys. So that keeps the tie score at 5 each. I'd love to get an interview with that guy, just see what he's thinking. I'm sure he's not showing his face in too many places right now. Hoping another team will scoop him up. All right, let's go to the scoreboard here. See what happened after that very landslide obvious question everybody knew the answer to. Here we go. Well, Cameron Hughes still way at the top. Chapman hanging in second. Nick LaBow back up to third. The Zekinator gets back into fourth. And Omitsutsirk it gets to the top 5 at number 5. And me, 678, the highest climber, up 11 places trying to get into the top 5. Here we go. We're getting down to home stretch right here. Question number 10 with double point action. Who was not on the first NorbCam Ladies Roundtable? Jessica, Cynthia, Alina, or Zoe? Who was not on the first Ladies of the Roundtable? Jessica, Cynthia, Alina, or Zoe? 3 seconds. And time is up. Oh boy, people have been watching. I'm proud of you guys on YouTube. You guys actually watched that show to know who was actually on that show, and 20 of you got it right. Yes, Cynthia was not on the show. It was joined by Jessica Zoe and Alina. We had a great time, a great show last week. We'll definitely do another ladies roundtable. In fact, if you are a lady Seahawks fan out there who would like to join a future ladies roundtable, please send me an email at norb@norbcam.com and we'll get you on there. All right, let's go to the panel. I don't know if you guys were watching. Let's find out. Calvin?
See, I was watching, and I remember watching all the introductions and all that. So I thought I had the names down, but I guess I did because I said Alina. But I gotta work.
You said Alina?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's too bad. Alina from Gig Harbor. She'll be heartbroken that you didn't remember her name, Calvin. Noah, what about you?
If you're listening.
Noah, how about you?
Calvin, bro, I thought you were a ladies' man, bro. I was tuned in. I was paying attention. I was commenting. You can go back and check the live chat. I knew for a fact it was Cynthia because all my other young women on that panel did a phenomenal job.
All right, so Noah takes the lead with that question. 6-5, a 1-point lead. All right, let's go to the YouTube scoreboard where most of you got that one correct, but we are talking double points here. So here we go. Nope, not much change except at number 2 and 3. Cameron Hughes still strong at the top. Nick LaBow moves up to second. Chapman drops to third. Zekanator at 4th, and Omitsoturk is still in 5th place. Ninja CRK up 15 places, the highest climber, trying to get into the top 5 with 2 questions to go. Can we do it? Cameron Hughes got a pretty big lead here. It's going to be tough to knock Cameron off of here, but we'll find out if Nick or Chapman or Zekanator or Omitsoturk can do it. Here we go. Question number 11, coming up right here for double points. Question 11, worth double. Which season prediction music video has had the most views? Was it the 2019, 2016, 2017, or 2018 music prediction video? Which one had the most views all time? 2019, 2016, 2017, or 2018? Heck, I had to look this one up. Let's find out if you guys knew this. Oh, it's evenly spread, but 6 of you got this correct. It was, in fact, the 2017 by a hair. I think it's like 196,000 views, that 2017 video. Let's see. Oh, I need to double up the points. I have to double up the points because Noah got 7. I put you for 6, but you actually got double. So now it's a 7 to 5 point lead. Here we go. Calvin to tie. Did you get this one?
I did not.
Oh, I know you got no basis of any kind of analysis. This is simply a year guess. He didn't get it. But did Noah know or guess lucky to put the game away?
Neither. I'm with Calvin. I thought it was 2019 or 2018, but I was wrong.
And the numbers don't lie. I don't know what it is about 2017. That was the year we didn't go to the playoffs, yet it's the year that, for some reason, my prediction video was the most popular. Go figure. So the score stays at 7-5. Noah with a 2-point lead, but Calvin could come back and still tie this game if things play out.
Martin would have got it.
A certain way. Martin would have got it. Martin would have nailed it. Let's go to the scoreboard. Here we go. Cameron Hughes still on top, but the lead is narrow. Omitsoturk moves up to second, only behind by 50 points. T-Man on fire with 3 straight answers gets to the 3rd spot, only 600 points behind him. And then Nick LaBow and Chapman rounding it off at 4th and 5th. Oh boy, it's going to come down to this final question. The final question of NorbCam Trivia coming now. Number 12. Worth double points. How much did my Kahoot subscription cost? Was it $120, $225, $175, or $240? How much did my Kahoot subscription freaking cost me? $120, $225, $175, or $240? I've lamented about this many times, so I'm sure you guys would probably hear about it. Here's the time is up. Oh my gosh. Most of you guys didn't know this. Only 6 of you on YouTube got this. This is going to be a more interesting finish than I thought. Let's see how well the panel was paying attention. Calvin. Is the price right?
Ooh, price is right. I knew for a fact it was over 200. 225 just sounds unrealistic. And so while I guess 250 in my head, 240 was the closest to 250, so I said 240.
It still hurts when you even say that. over $200 for this freaking game. Anyway, that's all for you guys. No regrets. Okay, Noah, it's a tie ball game, but you could win it right here with this single solitary question. Did you have the correct answer?
So, as you guys know, what this comes down to for me, I knew it was over 200. As soon as you said 225 in my head, I'm like, oh, that's the answer. Then you said 240. I'm like, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
I just tried to remember you complaining about it, because like it wasn't even just like you complaining about it like on air. You've complained to me about it so many times in person. Like I'm pretty sure, like I think I was one of the first people you told. I would assume your wife probably came before.
She doesn't know. Shh.
See, I was either like she knows before or she don't know at all. But
I'm hoping that she won't find out, because I would not hear the end of it. But anyway, that's between all of us and the 5 of you watching on YouTube.
But I just thought back to all the complaining, and I was like, 225, too many syllables, 240, and I got it right.
Oh, so Noah gets the final question and secures the win in today's NorbCam Trivia. Congratulations, though. It's down to the wire. One answer separated the two of you, but Noah finishes with 9 points. Calvin in a close second at 7. So let's find out now from the YouTube side of things. This is going to be interesting. Who finishes in what turned out to be a close finish? Who's going to be on top to host an upcoming episode? Here we go. Here we go. And the final podium in third place with 6103 is T-Man. 7 of 12 answers correct. In second place, Cameron Hughes. Oh my goodness. That means in first place it is Oh my goodness, Cameron Hughes. And Michael and Ravens defense, the runners up. Cameron Hughes, oh my gosh, you were in the lead the entire time. Omid Soturk, please take a picture, screenshot your win there, and email me at norb@norbcam.com. It's right there, right there. Norb@norbcam.com. My mouth won't talk. Norb@norbcam.com. And send me a picture and connect with me so I can get you on a future show. But oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. Cameron Hughes was dominating, up by like over 1,500 points, maybe 2,000 at one point. But in the final stretch, Omid Turk, who wasn't even at the top 5 for the first part of the game, comes back in, gets 7 out of 12. Here's the thing, guys. Cameron Hughes had 9 out of 12 questions correct. Omid Turk only had 7 out of 12 correct, but he got the correct answers where it counted. Speed counts, and obviously the double answers counted. I'm guessing he must have really hit pay dirt on the double answers. Missing 2 more questions than Cameron, but still gets the points. Barely winning with 84-44, knocking Cameron Hughes out of first place, who had finished with 82-34. I feel bad for you, Cameron, because you were right there leading the pack. Solid 75% question answers, solid, but it comes down to the points, and Omid Soturk got it. So, Omid Soturk, send me your message on email, and let's talk about things and get you on a future show. All right, so that was, wow, exciting trivia. Hey, that was fun, you guys. Always appreciate you. So to wrap things up, I got to thank my guests here, as always, on the NorbCam Roundtable every week. Calvin Domingo, Steve Z.A. Smith, and Noah Boelter of The Bolt. I got to give you a chance to shout out and talk about your channels. So Calvin, let's have you go first. Talk about where they can find you.
Yes, sir. You can find both of us in the description. But before you guys do that, please show Big Bro some love. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to Norb if you haven't already. And after that, please sub to both Noah and I. I haven't checked in on Noah's subs yet, but think he just hit 300. Did you hit 300?
Cal, bro, you can't be doing me like that, bro. You're janky.
Come on.
You're janky.
Hey, hold on.
Hey, we just had that debacle of a show because of my Wi-Fi, bro. I think it went down. Cal doing me dirty.
Oh, man.
But Cal just hit 700, though.
Okay,
So show him
congratulations,
some-
Cal. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yes.
But no, hold up. No, he was about to hit 300, y'all. So that means you guys are doing something right. Please, let's get my boy to 300 by tonight. You can find both of our handles in the description. Like I said, you can find Noah at DJ Squabo, DJ SQUABO. You want to make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of The Bowl every single Saturday, which is now on YouTube instead of the radio. And you can find me at Steezy A Smith, STEEZYA Smith. I haven't dropped a video in a few weeks. I've had some difficulties with my camera, but I'm getting that situated as soon as I get back from Arizona. So expect a few videos by this weekend or sometime in the next few weeks. I'm looking to make that up. And please show us some love. Follow us on our gram. You can find Noah at DJ Squabo, I think, on Instagram. You can find me. Please follow my new Instagram at Steezy A Smith. Just drop some merch as well if you guys are interested. Be sure to hit me with a DM on one of my Instagram accounts, either at Steezy A Smith or Steezy_way. And we love you guys, and thanks for having us, Norm, as always.
All right, so last but certainly not least, Noah, go tell them where they can find you so you can get to 300 subs, for crying out loud.
Jeez. Hey, man, well, tomorrow I'm giving you guys some hot content. I'm dropping y'all a video about why Seattle will have the best tight end group in the NFL in 2020. I have in-depth analysis going through the Baltimores of the world, Philadelphia. I'm talking about Cleveland, Tampa Bay, San Francisco. I'm going into every single one of these tight end groups and telling you why Seattle is going to be better. So definitely show me some love. Subscribe. Show some love to my brother Calvin Domingo. Show some love to my brother Norb. Last week we had a debacle with the Bolt. My Wi-Fi at my house has always been bad, but the show just would not stream, and so we ended up recording it and then uploading the recording, but it was a lot smaller. So this week, Norb, I'm pretty sure the Wi-Fi has been holding up so far, knock on wood. If not, I'm willing, or I actually have a dude coming in on Friday to hook me up with some higher speed, but I'm not trying to pay the extra if I don't have to, because it's like $40 extra a month just for the higher speed stuff. But currently, the stuff that came with the apartment at Wazoo kind of doing pretty good so far. So, I mean, I'm going to do a test stream probably tomorrow. Might get my guy Calvin on there. Might get my guy Norb on there just to see, how the Wi-Fi holds up for a live stream. But this Saturday, the Bolt is back. Don't even worry about it. 3 hours. We're coming to you live from 10 to 1. We're bringing you sports action. There have been upsets in the world of the NBA, as in the world of NFL. Always got something to talk about. And we're playing Boelter. You don't want to miss it. It is your home for Saturday morning sports on YouTube. So definitely subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Cal. Subscribe to Norb.
All right, and I was just going to say also that, what was I going to say here? It was I'm shouting out to Elena McCollum. She's a mod on this channel. We've had lots of, I always hear from you, but you need to join the ladies panel. So I hope you'll contact me, norb@norbcam.com. I want to get you on a future show. But this was actually, both of you guys' connections were good, because Noah, yours was rock solid. Calvin, you sounded and looked good. I think at one point you dropped off just for a second, but you didn't have those weird stuttery dubstep breakups that you usually have at one point during the show. So Arizona Wi-Fi has been treating you good down there, man. So you might have to just do your show from there permanently from this point on. It's working pretty good. All right. So, thanks you guys for coming on the show every week. One of these days we'll have Seahawks Martin back again, and we will be doing the fan panel also, which we started before. We'll do that again in a future time. People are asking about that in the chat. But yes, please go check their stations out, their YouTube channels out. Please hit the sub button, and let's get Noah over 300. I just heard from Alina that you're like at 293 subscribers right now. So you need 7 to break the 300 mark. Let's get him there. Make his day, make his week. Come on, it's only 7. Let's do this, and then help me. I want to get to 37 so bad. Where am I at? I'm stuck at 30.
30,
No, I'm at 37.
You're at 37.
I'm at 37.6. I want to get to 38. I want to get to 40, really, is what I really want to get to, but it's like being stuck in mud or something. So hit me up and subscribe to me. I would love it. Really appreciate it. So thank you to my guests. Thank you to all of you who played in the trivia today, and for everybody who are in the chat and the super chats. Appreciate you guys' support. And I just want to hit a couple of little videos here, just a little thing before I sign off. Again, I've been part of this FTFN, the Fan to Fan Network. We just had our broadcast premiere on Sunday, and we're going to continue to do shows throughout the week. Another one tomorrow evening, and hope you guys will check it out. And again, here is the Fan to Fan Network. Going to show you a little teaser right here.
Hey guys, Joseph Barber here.
Tighten upload.
Darian of the Spotlight Raiders Talk Mike. The AZ Sports Fan. Joseph DN 2.0. Derek Larger.
Joe Newbo.
Dudley Durall. It's your boy Baroshma.
NorbCam coming at you, and you're watching the
Fan to Fan Network.
The voice that sports fans deserve.
All right, there you go. That's the Fan to Fan Network. Broadcasting right now just exclusively on Twitch. And the Twitch address is in the description. If you guys check that out, it is going to be a live show. But it features some of all the different team ambassadors and YouTubers from around the country, all kind of combining together to post news stories and videos. It's a pretty cool thing. So I hope you guys will check it out. And I hope I can get Noah and Calvin on there as well to help me post some content, as I have an entire Seahawks page devoted to Seahawks news. So it's a pretty cool thing. Hope you guys will check it out. FanToFanNetwork.com. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will do this roundtable every week on Wednesdays, same time, about 4:30 or 4:45 Norb and Cam. Cal time. But it will happen right around 4:30. So we'll do the same time again next week. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you next time. Go Hawks.